in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and with my friend Kimbra in Los Angeles, California. Um, Kimbra, what's your rant today?
Let's see, where do I begin? Well, my rant is actually about the roads in LA, right? There's so many potholes. I just bought this new car. When I just bought my new car, I'm driving down the road. The pothole was as big as a refrigerator. I'm serious. I went back and took pictures, and I just got my new car. And I was like, boom, boom, tire, busted.
Yeah.
So that happens to me all the time. And then last week I ran over a piece of metal that was on the road and punctured the back one. So the roads in LA are just crazy. And I know with everything that's going on, that's the least of their worries, I guess.
Yeah, but with all the taxes they collect, they can at least fix the roads.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I get it.
I've, one of my friends said I should write a letter for the refrigerator pothole. And I did.
Yeah.
But to no avail. They said, "Oh, we went and checked it out. Tough luck."
Who did you send the letter to?
Gosh, it was the city roads and commissions or something. I Googled it, But my friend Sandy, shout out to Sandy. She was like, activist woman. You got to send a letter, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it
does. Yeah, if enough people do, I think that's a good idea. So good. And speaking of taking action and doing things, we were talking this week about cancel culture.
Right.
And I even had to, because I've been, hearing about it for months. And I asked one of the younger people that I work with, I said, hey, what exactly is this
the Gen Y people
thing? Yeah. And he explained it, that it's when people, when we disagree with what they think, we cancel them out. And now it's become so prominent and prevalent in our culture that we're just, nobody's allowed to have a dissenting opinion. Nobody's allowed to have a difference of opinion. So we thought we'd talk about that today with that letter that 150 people signed, J.K. Rowling.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Yeah. That was an interesting one. Yeah. The first time I heard about it was when I was watching Bill Maher, and he had Meghan Kellie on, and they were talking about, he said, even though you and I disagree ideology wise, her Meghan Kellie and Bill Maher, he said, I really was upset that you got fired. And I had to look it up because I couldn't remember why she got fired, but she got fired for sort of defending blackface, like when kids Halloween dressing up, as a different culture or a different race. And it got me thinking that, when I was a kid, my mom had a friend that was Japanese, and she dressed me up as a little geisha girl, and then I'm sure I played an Indian princess at one point in my life. So it's like, is that any different? I don't know. And so anyway, Bill Maher was talking about how that he felt that our society has gone too much over the edge with the cancel culture because people are not allowed to make mistakes, that she may have said something in maybe not the most artful way, and you have to get fired for that, and you're not even, but besides the point of not even having the opinion, maybe that's her opinion and she wasn't being racist, although I'm sure a lot of people, that's a sensitive subject, the whole blackface thing. But then it got me thinking, gosh, in so many movies, like from the 50s and 60s, I never even saw that movie that Marlon Brando played a Japanese guy and he did full makeup, and, you didn't hear anybody that I've never heard that people got in arms about it, but maybe they did, but that's a whole other, subject.
Well, I don't think we should hold people responsible for things that they did that at the time were culturally acceptable. Now,
that's true.
In this time, we have evolved, we've grown, we don't find those things acceptable anymore. But even the Me Too movement, and Lord knows I am very against sexual harassment, and I've been there and been treated unfairly as a woman.
Right.
So I support the movement, but I don't feel that we should hold someone responsible for something they did 10, 20 years ago when it was acceptable. I mean, we accepted that stuff as a culture. We didn't fight back, really. So now I believe in make an example of someone, hold them accountable if they apologize, but to take away their livelihood, to take away their job. Also, my other thought on the cancel culture and people that disagree, I want to know what people are thinking. I don't
Sure.
want to discourage someone
Sure.
from feeling free to express their opinion. For so long, we were taught, I just read it on Facebook today. A friend was writing, well, I don't think it's polite to discuss politics or religion, so I don't usually post political things. And she happened to post something about the COVID-19 virus, and it turned political, of course. And I was shocked that in this day and age, 2020, she thinks you shouldn't talk about religion and politics. That's
Sure.
exactly why we are not able to talk about it. And we are
Exactly.
so disagreeing because we've been taught not to. And we were taught not to because the people in power don't want us to talk about it. They want us just to accept what they decide our fate is. I think we all should be talking about it a lot. So when you cancel people out, it discourages them from expressing their opinion.
Right.
And I don't
like
think that's right.
I went to Cal State Fullerton, and I was there the other day doing something. Well, this was actually last year now, but the other day, what am I thinking? But Milo, the Republican.
Yeah, Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, he was going to speak soon. They were passing around a protest letter, to get him to not. They didn't want him to speak, and I remember they approached me about it, and I was like, no, I think he absolutely should speak, because this is a college, and we should have people with dissenting ideas, varied ideas. You may not like what he has to say, but I think for sure he has the right to say it. Hate speech and that kind of thing is a different story, but even then there's a fine line between saying something really, hateful. There's a fine line about that. Like I remember Roseanne Barr, she got fired from her job from the Roseanne show because of a tweet that she put out. And it was pretty, racy, I guess you'd say, excuse the pun. But anyway, she actually, I think, stepped down from the show, but she would have gotten fired. Yeah. They were going to cancel the whole thing.
There was a lot of backlash.
Yeah. But there's other instances, like with the Meghan Kellie, and I think even Bill Maher got fired off his original show, not politically incorrect. What was it? Was it politically incorrect? Yeah, his first show was politically
a different one. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah.
I thought it was politically incorrect, his other show. But anyway, he got fired for something he said, and but eventually they brought him back. But I don't, they made a good point in this conversation with Bill and with Meghan Kellie that people in the past, when we had dissenting ideas, when people didn't agree with you, we didn't just erase their memory and sweep it under the rug. We learned from that, and we talk about it. In the days of Mad Men in the 60s, women were treated pretty badly, and you could be a secretary and you're always getting knocked on the bum, from what I've been told. And because it's funny, my stepfather was watching that show one day and he was like, I'd totally forgotten how badly women were treated in the 60s. And I was like, yep.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
Yeah. We don't I was just going to say, we don't want to cancel that show because it shows treatment of, you learn from it, right?
Yes, that's what it's about, learning. And then also, if you don't know what's in people's minds, how are you able to change their opinions, educate them? How are you able to have those kinds of conversations? I want to know, all the recent riots and racism brought to light with the murder of George Floyd.
Sure.
I'm appalled at what it's brought out. I didn't know that's the America I lived in. I did not know. And had we kept sweeping it under the rug, there's people that verbally and publicly claim not to be racist at all, and I don't see color. And then you see things that they're defending and you think, well, you are racist. If you don't see the institutional racism and the need to change it, then you aren't, either you're not informed, which is common, could be, or you don't care and you're a racist. So yeah, and not getting off the topic of the cancel culture, I do think that it's good that this is all coming out and coming to light, because you can't fix it as long as you keep ignoring it and hiding it.
And you brought up a point just a minute ago too, with cancel culture. When you cancel something and erase it, people go underground.
Yeah, it doesn't go away.
And a movement just swells that you don't know about, and they hide it. And that hence, all the people that we're discovering now, this horrible behavior that we're seeing, and these, interesting conspiracy theories, because people are very resentful about things and they go underground and these weird ideas bubble up, I'd rather have it out in the open.
Yeah. Well, that's the only way we progress. I mean, throughout all of history, it's just been for decades, we've been taught, our generation was taught, it's not polite. You don't discuss money. You don't discuss politics. You don't discuss religion. And those are hot points for a lot of people. And it causes a lot of agitation and friction and arguments and problems with families. But we need to talk about those things, because if we're going to call ourselves one nation, then we have to come to some consensus on how we're going to live.
That's true. That's true. I just had a conversation with somebody about that. A friend of mine who was saying how he overheard his coworker saying some really bad things about, he's gay, and they were saying really bad things about gay people because this person was really religious, and he said, how can I can't even look at that guy in the face. I don't believe that you can live with people that think such ill against me. And, so that was something that I thought was an interesting thought, because I thought, for me personally, I live in a neighborhood where there's people that have very opposing ideas to my own on, let's say, pro-choice and that kind of thing. But I'm nice to them. I don't know why, that's just me, but I thought it was an interesting question that he brought up. Like, can you be civil to people that have such hateful viewpoints about you? And I said, well, this is America. I mean, there's so many people that have different viewpoints. I think we should try to get along. I don't know.
If you like our videos, go ahead and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah, I would have a problem with it. I have a problem with people that are very backwards. The gay movement, that's over and done with. It's time for people to get on board. It's not your business if somebody's gay. It's just not your business.
Right.
And so the people that oppose it, they're all about their rights and freedom, and don't tread on me and don't take away my rights and my free speech. Well, then mind your own business about other people's lives. Right. So I get really fired up about that kind of stuff, and that does turn political, but I just don't think it's any of your business. Your religion, your the way you live, who you marry, what you do. I have my own thoughts on marriage. I feel like if you want to, make it a church thing, that's okay. I don't even know that I believe in so much in marriage anymore. It's a partnership. It's a business. It's like a legal partnership is really what it is.
It always was a business, we talked about this before, back in the day, the 1800s, it always was a business. It's only been in recent history that we've developed it into, like, you've got to find your soulmate. You're not going to be in love, but that's sort of a 20th century concept, I believe. But
how foolish of us to look
for
love,
and I'm
in all the wrong places.
I'm the worst. I'm telling you this. I'm the worst one about that. It's like, oh no, I can't even kiss him if I don't like him.
Yeah. But you're right. It was very different not too long ago that you didn't necessarily just marry for love. You learned to love. What was it? The saying? It's just as easy to love a rich man as it is a poor man.
Yeah,
I guess,
and that's true.
Whatever.
That's actually true.
So, I don't know about that. Depends on the man. But well, anyway, the cancel culture. I don't know. I'm like so many things. I see both sides. I'm on the fence. I do think there should be consequences for bad behavior.
Definitely.
But again, not for behavior that was once socially acceptable, and now it's not. But they did it 20 years ago. How can you? Yes, use them as an example. But punishing someone, taking away their job, firing them, their livelihood, for something that they did that other people probably did too, including the people canceling them, but they just weren't on film or caught or whatever.
Yeah, and then like you said, and if you don't agree with my opinion, and then I'm going to cancel you, that's just, we're never going to learn how to talk about things. Don't you think?
Yep. Yeah, we have to learn to disagree. No, I don't want to be a hypocrite, because I'm not good. As you were saying to me on the phone the other day, you're like, you're not very patient. I'm like, nope, I'm not. You're right. And I'm really not, and mostly I can have an intelligent conversation that's calm, with someone that I respect, who I feel has done the homework. But if I feel like someone hasn't done as much research on the topic and their arguments are all from the television, that's when I lose my patience. I have no patience because it's not worth my time to have a discussion like that with someone who has no clue. They think they do, but they really haven't done any research beyond Fox News or MSNBC. And that's when I lose my patience. So yeah, because I have some friends that I have, well, you and I have some really good conversations. We don't always agree 100%.
Sure.
But I think we have similar values.
And we both kind of see both sides sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is also important. You should see the other side and be willing to hear the other side.
Yeah, like this is not really the cancel culture, but like on Facebook or any of these other social platforms, you know, you always hear about people like saying, some of my friends will say, I'm not going to take a friend request from this Donald Trump supporter. And I always think, but why? Do you really just want to be surrounded in your little bubble?
Right.
And they said, yes, I do.
You know, yeah, a lot of people really don't have the stomach for it. They don't have the patience or whatever. I keep coming back, even though I'm not necessarily patient in the conversation. I am patient I feel like we are progressing, we are evolving, we are always going to keep growing and becoming better. And sometimes, who was it? Oh, Eckhart Tolle. He was on the Russell Brand Under the Skin, his podcast the other day.
I love Russell Brand. He's great.
Yeah, I love both these guys. And Eckhart Tolle was just saying, he said, you don't experience growth without pain.
Sure.
I mean, all growth requires pain, especially as a culture, as we're growing and changing. And our culture is just, in my opinion, a superficial, greedy, self-centered society that has brought on all of these problems. That really, when you look at the bigger picture, all the other little things could be corrected and amended if we really looked at ourselves and what our priorities were. So I feel like right now is a good time for us to take the opportunity to reevaluate our priorities and what's important. You know, not having universal health care. Every other country that's civilized and a wealthy culture has universal health care. How ridiculous is it that people are so afraid that they might not get something, which right now our healthcare system's awful anyway, but it's so self-centered for people that just think it's not even self-centered, not really educated and fearful. You know, our government does mess things up, so I understand the trepidation, but I also feel like by blaming the government for everything, we're the government. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be. So you're giving away your power. Mm-hmm. When you say the government messes everything up and I don't want the government involved in my life, I get it, but that's our fault because we're not participating and we're not getting involved. So I feel like we need to also be more involved.
Oh, definitely. Like we were talking about this the other day. I feel like in America, maybe within the last 10 years, I've seen a difference, but we've just for so long been in our little cushiony, you know, we've gone rich and fat, not literally, but figuratively. Yeah. And when you're rich and fat, you don't have a tendency to want, get involved.
Yeah, when life's good, you're not going to look for problems. If you're happy and doing well, I'm not going to look for problems. But as we see, you were telling me about in LA, all the homeless people now, and they're everywhere under bridges and everything. When you have to see it, you've got to start acknowledging it and not just saying, those are our brothers and sisters. Those are those are human beings. We rescue dogs. We sometimes, which I like dogs better than people, to be honest. But we do, there's a lot of us are treating dogs better than people. That's not true. Even concerned about these poor people living under the bridges and starving, and the little kids that are hungry. And
yeah, I know, it's just interesting. I vote that if I could donate a lot of money, it would be to the homeless or help more. I need to help more because that's one of my causes. I just feel like nobody really wants to live on the street, but there are some people who do. There's some people that they check out, like they just say,
well, they're not functioning. They don't function properly in society. But I'm sure if somebody gave them one of the, there's communities that they're building those little tiny homes for them, and it's working out really well. Yeah. So I think we're throwing a lot of money down the drain on programs that don't work and they don't actually help people. They're not actually. Well, my theory about giving everyone an inheritance at a young age for a
Right.
home, for purchase of a home. I
Mm-hmm.
really think that would be such a putting our money to good use, and it would be recycled instead of just giving people a handout
Mm-hmm.
every month for so much, whatever, for food and shelter or whatever, to rent, to a rental subsidy.
Mm-hmm.
If you give them $100,000 when they turn 25 and they use that money throughout their lifetime to buy a home, they always have a home. You don't have to give them, money every month, at least not for that, not for housing. And then when they pass on, when they die, that money goes back into the fund. So I just think I don't think we have really good business people running our country. And Donald Trump is obviously not a good business person. He's gone bankrupt many times. He's a shyster. He's cheated people. Sorry, folks. Donald Trump's not a good businessman. And I think a lot of our businesses are not run by good business people. A lot of CEOs, they get these bonuses because they save the company money. They're not doing anything innovative or impressive. They're just cutting. They're cutting employees. They're cutting staff, and that saves on expenses, and then it makes them look good, but it's a temporary fix. What would be better is if they came up with more efficient ways of, systems, if they trained their people, but they don't want to invest because everybody's looking for the money today, the dollar
Sure.
today, instead of in the long run.
Long
And that's
term.
where I
Yeah.
think we're failing in every area.
Yeah, that's true. But getting back to the cancel culture, there's another thing I was going to talk about too. It kind of ties into it. It's like with the statues, how we're like going around knocking down all the statues, which I could totally understand the Confederate ones in, I think it was North Carolina, where they started, Robert E. Lee. But, I feel like we're also going a little overboard where we're just ripping down everything that you don't agree with, because you do learn from some of these statues. Let's maybe put them somewhere in a museum instead of, knocking them down. And in Orange County where I grew up, they want to take down the John Wayne. And it got me thinking, well, because of some comments he said in a Playboy interview, I guess a long time ago, he's not here to defend himself. I mean, we don't really know if he was a racist. So,
well, and it was at a time, again, that it was acceptable. It wasn't right. We know that now. We've learned it and grown from it. For me, the statues aren't so important. I don't care about things so much. So, and also with all the protesting and rioting, I'm very much in support of people taking action, because I feel like we've been so complacent for so long that we're almost being ignored and disregarded.
sure.
Until people started burning stuff down and tearing things down, it just was kind of ignored, and the media is controlling everything. The media controls what we care about. So I feel like at least it's brought attention to these things, as long as nobody gets hurt. Like,
Right.
I'd rather them topple a statue than shoot someone. So I'm kind of okay with it, whatever, either way.
I was reading about it, and I guess in Russia, after Lenin, during one of their periods, they knocked down a lot of the statues. And one of the writers, it was a New York Times article, he was saying how nothing's really changed in Russia in regards to certain ideology. So knocking down the statues didn't really help,
Yeah, those are symbolic things, not really things that make change. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I agree with that. I'd rather see people get out, educate themselves, and vote for politicians who are representing us, rather than tearing down a statue and feel like you've really done something that's not going to make a difference. They just laugh at that.
Yeah. So in my opinion, it's like until we know better. When we know better, we do better. It's like we can't just cut, sweep people under the rug because they don't agree with what you're saying, because someone doesn't agree with you.
Right.
So
yeah, I agree with that. Have it out, go ahead and have the conversation, which scares a lot of people. I have a lot of people tell me on Facebook, you're so courageous because you say exactly what you think. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't I? I don't think I guess it takes courage, because then you get criticized, but we should all have that kind of courage. That's what I thought was based on. It's
freedom of
speech.
Right.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Freedom of speech.
Yeah.
So I mean, people are afraid. There's new things now, that people are afraid of because of social media. But like that guy, what was his name, Chuck Woolery, that said that were you the one that was telling me about that? About it's a hoax.
He was saying that the COVID-19 was a hoax, and then a couple hours later he was posting, no, it's real, because his son had it.
Oh wow.
Which, I respect him for that. I respect him for getting on social media and admitting, hey, I was wrong. Right. This is real. And more people are starting to admit that. Be careful what you say publicly, because it'll come back to slap you in the face. That's why you should always do your homework first, do your research, and know what you're talking about.
But, then you see some comedians that got, like there's this one guy, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but he got fired on Saturday Night Live for saying a remark about Asian people. It was this big break.
Yeah, and Andrew Yang even defended him. Yeah. I forget the guy's name, but Andrew Yang defended him. It was I thought it was about Andrew Yang, maybe. Or maybe I guess it just was pertinent because Andrew Yang's Asian, and so he defended him. And I agree.
And I thought it was it was the beginning of his career, and
especially with comedy.
Yeah,
when you're trying to be funny, funny is sometimes offensive to some people, so
a lot of stereotypes that people use and say. And I totally didn't agree. Even though I'm half Asian, I said, no, he shouldn't have gotten fired, because that was something he did a long time ago. So, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, which you are entitled to.
I am entitled. Not entitled that way, but I am entitled.
Entitled to your opinion. Yes.
So we agree that cancel culture is most of the time not a good thing.
Yes, we definitely agree. I don't know if you saw the podcast with Brett Weinstein, and I'm not sure if Matt Taibbi, the Rolling Stone writer, he's been going on a lot of shows talking about it. He's against it. And I have a lot of respect for him because he's got such journalistic integrity. But there was a show, it was Brett Weinstein and maybe Matt, but they were talking about it too. Brett Weinstein was a professor at Evergreen College, and he got canceled. I don't know if he got fired or he quit, but they basically, because he was saying I can't remember, everybody white was going to stay home one day, and he was against that for reasons that he's not racist. He supports the Black movement, but he felt that was divisive or whatever reason. I might be getting that wrong, but they were talking about it too. And a lot of people that I respect are against the cancel culture because of what it leads to. It's stifling people from expressing themselves. And we should express ourselves so we learn, because sometimes you say something and you're convinced that you said it or that you believe it, and then later you might go, well, wait a minute, now that I've processed this and actually said it out loud, maybe I don't believe it.
Right. Right. So. And then our views always are changing. So like you said, it's a time of, you may think something in one period of time and then you evolve. We've talked about it before, like with gay marriage, a lot of people, because the 40s and 50s, it was not accepted, and then started changing and didn't really change until like 5 years ago.
Not long ago. Yeah, it wasn't long ago.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, I'm glad that we can agree, and we're not agreeing to disagreeing. We're agreeing.
We're agreeing that it's okay to disagree.
Right. That's right.
That's the moral of this story today.
Right.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, it's been fun agreeing and disagreeing with you.
All right, everyone. Yeah. Take care, and don't cancel people. Listen and express yourself.
And subscribe to our channel.
Oh, and watch Kellie and Kimbra in the moment on YouTube. Yeah, and subscribe.
All right.
Okay, see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.